as the Diddy trial is opening up. People keep making this all about Diddy rather than looking at everything that's happening around it. There's a lot of people that want to protect the Diddy agenda because it serves them, because allegedly they're all accomplices. Like I said last year, after the Cassie Diddy case was made public for the world to see on CNN.
If Kim Porter hadn't done what she done, there would be no Cassie to testify.
You know, Mr. Combs, SC and SC, thing 1 and thing 2. They've been covering each other's ass for a long time, guys. Y'all don't see what's going on? The death of Angie Stone, Clive Davis, Diddy, Rock Nation on the verge of utter collapse. What happened to Tory? Find a way to blame it on him. Now all of a sudden he was trying to start a race. Just so happens that he gets half the day as the Diddy trial is opening up.
Jaguar Wright ain't letting Diddy breathe for a second. She just stormed into his trial and dropped some tapes that had the whole courtroom gasping these weren't just any videos. They allegedly showed Diddy getting real inappropriate with Bryshere Gray when he was just 17, and Trust Jaguar has been calling out Diddy over this for years way before any arrest ever happened. She wasn't about to stay quiet now, not when she's been screaming about what went down behind closed doors.
Too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him. With Jaden and Justin present, that tape exists.
Now fast forward, Bryshere's out here on Twitter, barely hanging on selling content on OEF for scraps. This man had star potential for real. He could have been the next big thing in Hollywood. But Jaguar claims Diddy and even Will Smith allegedly used him one after the other. And once they were through, they reportedly passed him around the industry like he was nothing. Cat Williams wasn't lying when he said, Diddy's parties ain't just parties. You got to know when to say no and if you're still in the dark. About what really happened to Bryshere Gray, buckle up. He was just 17 when he got placed into a so-called mentorship program with Diddy and Will Smith. But let's be real, Jaguar Wright says it wasn't about mentorship at all.
They do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bryshere Gray, left that house screaming. August the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed a dog.
Bryshere's former manager, Charlie Mack, had big dreams for him. Diddy was supposed to shape his music grind while will help him level up his acting career. But instead, Jaguar claims those plans were all smoke and mirrors. She says they used that mentorship cover to allegedly exploit him behind the scenes. And by the time they were done, he was completely broken mentally and spiritually drained. Jaguar first let this bomb drop when she straight up called out Diddy and Will for weaponizing these so-called mentorship programs. Jaguar Wright didn't hold back when she claimed that these so-called mentorships were really just setups to lure in young boys with dreams of making it big, only to allegedly pull them into twisted behind-the-scenes freak-off situations. And one of the wildest stories she dropped, she said things got so out of hand one night. Bryshere Gray and Meek Mill were straight up her by Will Smith's neighbors screaming with no clothes on, running out of Will's house like they had just escaped something insane. No one knows for sure what exactly went down in there. But word is that freak-off had been happening for hours, and it got so intense it had them reportedly drifting in and out of consciousness. That's how extreme it got. And with Cassie recently coming forward saying her freak-offs with Diddy sometimes lasted up to 4 days straight, this rumor didn't sound far-fetched at all to a lot of people.
But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
And here's where it gets even darker. Jaguar says Bryshere wasn't the only one caught up. Meek Mill, too, allegedly got swept into the same twisted cycle. She claims the people in power knew exactly what they were doing, picking rising stars, making promises, then breaking them down until they had nothing left but silence. According to Jaguar, these young men were targeted for their talent and their vulnerability, and once they were in, it wasn't easy to escape. Every time someone tried to speak out or pull away, they were either silenced, blackballed, or worse, mentally shattered. She even hinted that there were people behind the scenes keeping tabs on these boys, making sure they stayed quiet and loyal.
Stars of the hit show Empire. Tonight we're seeing hours of new video from his July arrest that ended with his wife flagging down police and telling them the actor had her for hours inside their Goodyear home. The bizarre jailhouse interview lasting for 2 hours as they try to piece together a chaotic chain of events.
There are whispers about contracts that weren't just about music or acting, but about control. And once those lines got crossed, there was no going back now. Here's where it gets even messier. Terrence Howard, who starred alongside Bryshere Gray on Empire when he first got introduced to Diddy, and will recently made some cryptic comments about major industry figures sleeping with young men in return for favors, and instantly people started connecting the dots. Many believe he was subtly calling out what happened to Bryce, because let's be honest, after Bryce got out of that so-called mentorship, he was never the same. There was no real mentorship, no real support. He vanished from the spotlight almost overnight. No big acting roles, no major moves, just silence. And then chaos. Next thing we heard, Bryshere was tangled in legal trouble and violent behavior. In 2022, he got arrested and convicted for aggravated assault against a woman he was messing around with. But that wasn't even the first time. Back in 2020. Shocking story broke. His wife had to literally run to a nearby gas station begging for help, and a stranger had to step in to protect her. That's when people even realized he was married. The situation with Bryshere just kept spiraling. His ex told police he strangled her. When officers showed up to arrest him, he straight up refused to come out the house. It got so serious the SWAT team had to pull up and negotiate with him for hours before he finally gave in. And when that mug shot dropped, people were in total shock. He looked completely broken, like a shell of who he used to be. And just when things couldn't get any messier, Jaguar Wright popped back up again. And this time, she came with even more jaw-dropping claims about what Bryce allegedly went through at the hands of Diddy. And will she double down on the story that Charlie Mack was the one who connected Bryshere to certain powerful people behind the scenes? But here's the twist that left everybody speechless.
When I say Andy, I'm talking about Bryshere's mom. I'm going to kick you in your and then I'm going to go to work North Philly style. You and Charlie. You happy now? He's a gay star. Are you happy now, Andy? For a book that didn't sell? I hope that new husband of yours leaves you. And maybe it's time you tell your son why his father is really in jail, his biological father, for all of his life, and what you had to do with it. You CI that came to me and begged me for my help. I told her to get the away from Charlie. I did everything that I could do to help her get Bryshere out of California into Chicago safe to be ready for filming. She knew she knew what Will did to him. Now, so he'll feel too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him. With Jaden and Justin present, that tape exists.
Okay.
I really hope none of that baby oil was used on those kids. That would just be a bad taste. Baby oil on babies.
You can't say that the flavor camp was sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. You just come on. Come on.
Starting to sound that way, ain't it?
No.
All that talent, and they And she let Charlie tune that boy up, well, knowing that he was bipolar and had ADHD. What kind of mother would do that to her son? Turn him into a prostitute so you could pretend to be something more than what you are, which is nothing more than a filial. You're a big old and they're making your son out to be, that's for sure. Because he didn't have no choice. You was down by all. I'm sorry. The Bryshere conversation for me is not easy. Because I came to Belial and I asked Belial to help me save the kids, and all he was worried about was his book.
Jaguar claimed Charlie couldn't have done any of it unless Bryshere's own mother, Andrea Mayberry, had allowed it to happen. Yet Jaguar straight up said Bryce's mom was in on it too, and she allegedly let it all happen. Jaguar didn't stop swinging. She claimed that right after Cassie filed her bombshell lawsuit, Bryshere Gray was getting ready to do the same, allegedly preparing a massive case against both Will Smith and Diddy, but just as talks with his lawyers started heating up, he reportedly had to pull out. Why? Because his life was allegedly in danger. That's how serious it got. And then Jaguar dropped another wild claim. She said there's a secret tape out there showing a freak-off involving Justin Bieber, Will Smith, Jaden Smith, Diddy, and Bryshere. And get this, Jaguar says she's actually one of the few people who's seen it. When folks started digging, they connected Jaguar's story to a rumored $50 million lawsuit that Bryshere was supposedly working on. The case was first hinted at in a blind item that sent shock waves across the industry. It read, I suspect the Sunto step forward male victim of this A-list mogul will not be the last man to do so. Sean Diddy Combs. And about those explosive tapes Jaguar brought into Diddy's trial, word is they didn't end up being played in court, but she did manage to hand them over directly to the prosecutors.
I do believe there's going to be a lot of curveballs. I do believe there's going to be a lot of interesting things. And what I will say is, be vigilant. We're getting started.
Is this a reckoning for the music industry?
Oh, it needs to be. And if it wasn't, I hope my presence starts that.
Reports say they're actively working to subpoena Bryshere so he can come in and testify against Diddy on the record. So now the spotlight is back on Bryshere Gray, and people are asking, will he finally speak out? Or has he been scared into silence like so many others in this twisted game? Sources close to the case say prosecutors are pushing hard to get him on the stand, especially with the kind of footage Jaguar handed over. But there's still one problem. Bryce's mental state. Insiders say he's been unstable for years. Some blame the trauma. Some say he's been heavily medicated just to stay calm. And with all the pressure around this trial, folks are worried he might not even be in the right state to testify. But if he does take that stand, this could change everything. Jaguar, on the other hand, is making it clear she's not backing down. She's already said that what the world knows right now is just the tip of the iceberg. She claims there are more tapes, more victims, and even bigger names involved. And let's not forget Diddy's camp is still working overtime, trying to silence anybody connected to these allegations. But with new witnesses popping up and the internet catching fire, this might be one scandal. Even Diddy can't buy his way out of right. Before stepping into that courtroom, Jaguar was spotted outside. And baby, she wasn't alone. She pulled up deep with her own security team bodyguards flanking her on all sides, ready for anything. Word is she came prepared in case Diddy's people tried to run up on her. And honestly, with how loud she's been in this case, there's no way his inner circle didn't recognize her on site. And you know they weren't thrilled to see her show up.
That happened in the R. Kelly case. Because if that had been properly addressed, this would have been addressed back then. These people have been working together, all in cahoots for all of this time. And it needs to all be addressed. I'm glad it's not just me anymore. I'm glad it's someone else. I'm glad there are other people who need to be heard. I'll be sure. I'm glad they're hearing him. Cassie, I'm glad they're hearing her. Kim Porter. Through, I'll be sure. I'm glad. Natanya Rubin, I'm glad. All of these things. So yeah, it's mixed emotions, but I just know when you pray for something and God answers it, you should be happy.
Jaguar's made it clear Diddy's fall isn't just about him. She says once he goes down, it's going to trigger a collapse for everyone hiding in Hollywood's darkest corners, and she's not stopping until each and every one of them is dragged into the light. She even blasted the authorities, saying Diddy could have been exposed years ago if they had taken the R. Kelly case seriously, according to Jaguar, if investigators had really connected the dots. Back then, they would have seen that Diddy was allegedly running the same kind of game. It's wild that it took Cassie's lawsuit just to get the system to finally pay attention to Diddy, and once they did, within weeks, investigators started uncovering layers of dark secrets that should have come to light years ago. And of course, people are speaking out. One comment said, "Absolutely come forth. What they did to him was horrific and wrong. He should reclaim his life, seek mental help, get compensation, and rise like a phoenix. Despite them, broke my heart to see the damage they caused." That young man, another viewer added. Jaguar got bigger balls than half the men who ruled the world unchecked. All the parents who sold their child's soul for fame, they're going to reap every bit of what they sowed now. I need to hear from you. What's your take on Jaguar handing over those tapes of Bryshere Gray to prosecutors? Do you think he's going to show up in court and finally speak his truth? Or will the pressure keep him quiet? Drop your thoughts down below in the comment section. Smash that like button, subscribe for more explosive updates, and hit that bell so you never miss when we expose the next chapter in this twisted saga. And if you thought this was crazy, click right here to watch this other messy video, because trust me, it's just getting started.